Hey, everybody. I'm Steve,
I'm Dave.
and this is the Perim Alliance. We're starting up a YouTube because we had some very exciting news about a week or two ago, and that's that, a beloved TCG from our childhood and middle years
I,
is
I would even
returning.
say, I would even say, not even a beloved. It's probably my number one.
Probably your number one.
Uh,
Yeah, it might be in my top two, maybe Star Wars. So that was the first one I ever got into. So there's a little bit of a special nostalgia to that, but there was probably a bigger nostalgia just because of how much of this we used to play together. But yeah. So we heard, it's been 15 years,
yeah, about 15 years.
15 years since it went away, 20 years since it started. We heard that it's making a glorious return. So
Yeah, and what got me into chaotic was my brother Ben. Right, my brother Ben. He comes up to me. He's like, he's my brother Ben. Always trying to get me to start something new. And he comes and talks about this game, this cartoon, right? And so started buying cards, started watching the cartoon, and that's kind of where we figured out what chaotic was.
yeah, yeah, and at that time,
More kids TV.
yeah, yeah, I was probably closer friends with your other brothers, and this is actually kind of the first thing that we kind of bonded and started like doing together.
Yeah,
And
it was interesting, right? Because you were hanging out with me, my older brothers,
yeah,
and then I start playing this game with Ben, and you're like, well, "This is a cool game." So
yeah,
we start bonding over playing Chaotic,
yeah,
and before you know it, we're hanging out way more than you're hanging out with
yeah,
my brothers.
yeah, true story. And yeah, and it was a great game for quite a few years, and so it's fun to see it come back. It's yeah. And so yeah, if you're new to Chaotic, you haven't heard anything real briefly, right? So trading card game went on for several years, had like 8 sets that came out, had a pretty interesting cartoon, ran for like I think it's 3 years, 79 episodes. And yeah, it's I would say the innovative thing that Chaotic was kind of doing on the cutting edge is that, right, from two things, is that it was almost kind of ahead of online play before almost even any of the other TCGs were really known, and they kind of had integrated their cards by you able to scan the physical and play them online. It was kind of interesting, and they had a lot of things you could play people online. You could trade digital cards. There was a lot of cool things there. Um, yeah,
Yeah, and one of the things when I was playing Pokemon Go, I had thought, I'm like, wow, this is what chaotic would have been, right? When you're on your phone and you're like collecting Pokemon, I'm like, it's the same thing as chaotic, where like they would, and during the cartoon they would use these devices, which
I
is
I
basically
I
a
never
phone.
I never even thought about that. Yeah, how amazing would that be to like to be able to incorporate like directional whatever and augmented reality scan quests like from Perim.
That's what I thought.
That would be a pretty hot idea, actually. Yeah.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, you could go to Param and then around the world here,
Yeah.
just running around and scanning whoever you find, Maxor, Kaor, those kind of creatures.
Yeah. Yeah, and
But anyway,
so since then, yeah, we've bounced between a little bit of other TCGs. Like we were
I bounced everywhere.
yeah, you bounced a little more than I did. Um, we were both playing Yu-Gi-Oh. That's probably the one. So between Chaotic and Yu-Gi-Oh, those are probably the ones that I played the most. And we were in Pokemon for an absolute hot minute, and you were in
What-
Magic for quite a while, and I'm like, yeah, that's too deep of a well for me to get into. I would go in and not come back out, so I avoided that
yeah,
one. Because I'll be honest
fair.
with you, I don't really care for most of the TCG model, right? You get you buying packs, it's called cardboard crack sometimes for a reason, and it can get you to spend quite a bit. We both enjoy other board games quite regularly. A matter of fact, it might have happened on one or two occasions that Dave and I can get heated in a competitive match. So a lot of times we stick to cooperative games. Yeah,
Which, hey, Competitive's not bad, but we get a little bit competitive.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And so I would say on the list on the scale of difficulty for TCGs, I would say it's on the more simplistic side, which is not to say that it's not strategic, but it's just I would say it's it would be far more accessible, especially for younger people or people who are new to it than Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic or anything like that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that separates it is one, it's scalable, right? You can do 1v1, 2v2,
Yeah.
three sorry, not 2v2, 1v1, 3v3, 6v6. It's scalable in that pyramid model.
Hmm.
The other interesting thing about chaotic is kind of like what you're saying. It's on the simpler side, and depending on how you play, could make it more complex or simple, right? Whether you play with music or don't play with music, adding battle gear, not adding battle gear, that kind of stuff, right? It's one character versus three characters makes it even more complex.
Yeah, and yeah, it does. It changes it quite a bit. Like a six, like the mechanisms you would use for a 6v6 team is much different than a 3v3. And it's kind of nice. Depending on how much time you have, you can set up for a longer or shorter game, which is pretty nice. And so what we've heard is that yeah, it's coming out limited release, GameStop hobby stores in this year, October, sometimes towards the end of October, and then broader release in they haven't said what retail stores. I would assume maybe I think they were in Target and Walmart before. They were definitely in Walmart, and they were they were in Toys R Us when that used to be a thing. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, how about that?
yeah, I know. I used to remember because I would go in there and they still have like Zenith of the Hive packs like way after it was, and so we're picking up like those 3-pack sets and things like that from there. But yeah, you know what? Because I definitely remember them having like the tins and stuff in Walmart, and
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah.
yeah, I remember that too. Now, I know we kind of were going to talk through chaotic panini, the
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
we'll call
So
it the relationship.
yeah. So right. So there's regular chaotic company, and then yeah, they're going to be working with a printer that Panini America, which it looks like most of their printing happens at facilities in Texas. So they're doing it here on home soil, which I guess has a lot of advantages for getting it printed into stores quickly. Do sports cards, so they did actually they did the Dragon Ball Z trading card game that was out for a couple years. So this is not their first one.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's going to be a fine relationship. I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned at all
Yeah.
about it.
And so, yeah, they are also talking about kind of hyping up and pushing like competitive play, tournament play, like at physical locations. If anybody's familiar with hobby shops and conventions, where a lot of different games run tournaments. Like I said, Gen Con is the big one that's coming up right now. They're not listed as a vendor there. I looked up their list. The other big one for the year is PAX Unplugged, which they haven't published their vendors yet, but probably not any kind of tournament there because they definitely said that part would start in January. So and PAX is in December. So, but
And we'll be at PAX,
yeah, yeah.
and I can guarantee I'll be looking.
Yeah, yeah, that's our local convention. It's actually only like 30 minutes from our house. It's very convenient. And, us and the other 30,000 people really quite enjoy it. I've gone, David and I just went together last year for the first time, but I've been there 6 or 7 times, I think. I think I've been to all of them but two. The back in the COVID years, those ones, they needed Vax passports, so I wasn't there those 2 years.
That makes sense. And I wanted to ask you actually,
Mhm.
what what do you think as far as chaotic goes? What do you think is going to be its big like set apart from other TCGs? Because it's a pretty crowded market in the TCG world right now.
Yeah. So yeah, so we've talked about this for a long time. Like back in the past, when it was coming out, previously, I was always kind of said it's a 3.5 game market, and so it was always like Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, and then there was enough space for another game to make a try, and then they normally didn't. It normally didn't work out for them long term, and Chaotic was in that space and doing very well, enough that I thought that they could have a lot of legs. And they had some legal issues and stuff that actually not related to the card game at all, but to their cartoon and who they were working with. But yeah, now the space is very, very different, right? We have Lorcana that's going on, and One Piece, and still, right, the big three. And they're all pretty going successful. And there's other ones who I'm not even mentioning. Tabletop gaming is a rapid growing market uh, in the U.S. So there could be space for it, and so there is an existing player base that remembers those things. They're older now. They have a lot of nostalgia, kind of like we are. It's
Kind of like us, you
kind of like
know.
us. So they have a chance. Do they have challenges? Yeah, sure, right. All those other ones that a lot of those we mentioned, right? Pokemon, One Piece, Lorcana, and
Magic.
not Magic. Even Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't even know if Yu-Gi-Oh still has a cartoon out, but they have, you know, decades worth of anime and for TV, right?
Oh yeah,
And movies, right? They have their own separate fans just from what the intellectual property is, and that is the one thing that I mean, Chaotic was creating with their own cartoon, but they don't have anything else to really feed like that, and we don't really know. They haven't said anything about whether a cartoon will come back. I think that would be a challenging space now, to be honest with you, given that who even watches TV anymore, right? Things are on streaming, so like a home for that would probably be better either with Netflix or something like that, or on their own. But I can imagine the costs for that if you were trying to
yeah.
do it yourself. Yeah, it's a challenge. It would depend. I think it would depend on how popular it it finds out to be back in the card game, whether they would actually be able to go back to the screen in some fashion. Although they have remastered all their old ones, bringing them up to like high def, and they've put those out. So um,
No, yeah, it makes sense. I think I'm most looking forward to seeing what Chaotic does in the space. I think the online aspect is not that other. Everyone has it now, right? It's not a differentiating
right.
factor. I mean, you can get any kind of Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Lorcana. It's all online
Yeah,
now.
Hearthstone. Yeah, there's even ones that are even just purely digital. Yep. Yep.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't even
There's,
put Hearthstone in there.
yep.
What I think though, it's got a good fan base. I've looked at a couple YouTube channels, and it's like there are people that are very faithful. Portal to Perim was also probably critical in keeping people
Yeah.
involved,
Yeah, that's a
right?
pretty
I think
pretty
that
huge
was
homebrew project. Yeah, for keeping a lot of stuff alive. Yeah, and it has yeah, it looks like they have like thousands, maybe hundreds active playing, and thousands who are registered, which is yeah, fairly big for something that has been around for 15 years.
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's substantial, but the game itself, it's so different as compared to a normal deck builder,
Yeah,
that it almost puts it on like a deck builder meets tabletop.
yeah.
And I believe that will be the reason why Chaotic stands out, and probably why Chaotic.
So it kind of bases itself around four different tribes, and I would say early on, you were it was very advantageous to run kind of unitribe, and then especially in some of the later sets they added mechanisms to to do mixed tribes, although there were still a lot of advantages to do. And so there were four main tribes. There was the overworlders, which were kind of based off of people and animals, the underworlders, which were kind of based off monsters, the Mepetians, which were all lizards, and the Danians, which were based off ants or bugs. And so David, it was funny. There were four of us friends that were kind of playing together.
Yeah, yeah. And we all chose unique
Yep, we all had
tribes,
one
you
of
know.
four. Yep. David played with the Overworlders. His brother played with the Underworlders. Their friend Colby played with Mepedians, and I played with Danians. So
Yeah, and then that was kind of how it worked, and it worked well because then we weren't competing for the same stuff. We'd trade for
yeah,
the other cards that we needed.
yep, yeah.
I will say the Overworlders, they're just so fun.
Yeah,
Like I have so much fun playing with the
yeah.
Overworlders.
In the cartoon and everything, and even in the series, they're kind of projected as kind of the protagonists. So they definitely had the most popularity. I was on Portal Perim, right? Your majority of people are playing Overworld and quite a bit of Underworld. Um, but the Mepedians and were third and Danians were last, and I think that was part of my appeal. I was like, oh, they're different and not as well liked, and they're bugs in, so I like all those things. We decided we'd start a YouTube channel. We're calling it Perim Alliance. Perim was the world that all these creatures and everything worked in, or lived in, and battled in, and how the story played out. So I've actually prepared a little bit of a game, and so or whatever, we're gonna do some predictions.